you talk to me all rough wild. Yeah, you beat me down, then you tore me up. I can't look at you the same. Oh, today was a rough one. Well, you lay your eyes on me, oh, rough one. Yeah, you struck my soul, then you broke my heart. I will never be the same. Tonight I'm gonna drink you away. Tonight I'm gonna drink it all away. I'm gonna lose my inhibitions. I'm gonna make real bad decisions. And tonight I'm gonna love you again. Hey bartender, it's me again. Yeah, I need another shot of Jameson. Oh shit, look who just walked in. Better make that a double. Tonight I'm gonna drink you away. Tonight I'm gonna drink it all away. I'm gonna lose my inhibitions. I'm gonna make real bad decisions. And tonight I'm gonna love you again. Yeah, tonight I'm gonna love you again. Tomorrow's gonna be a rough one.
Okay, this is Motor City Rock Talk, and this is Jimmy Jive. Today, I've got a band that plays a lot on the east side, Royal Oak area, that kind of thing, Troy out that area. Fantastic album that came out in 2022. The name of the band is Midnight Proof. I believe the name of the album is self-titled Midnight Proof. Today, I've got a guitarist from that band. There's 3 guitarists in the band. His name is Mike Conrad. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Jimmy, I'm good. Thanks for having me today.
Let's start with a little personal background on yourself. Tell me a little bit about where you're from originally and what got you into music as far as maybe musical influences, bands, artists, that kind of thing.
I grew up on your side of town. I grew up in Livonia. Spent 25 years there, the mean streets of Livonia. Growing up, in the 80s, I listened to everything. My brother is older than me, and my sister's older than me, so I got introduced to a lot of music from them. Found a lot of my own on the radio. MTV was banging at the time, so I was always listening and watching with that to learn about new stuff. So I always just listened to everything. It wasn't until I got out of college and moved out on my own where I started working at WDET. When I was working at WDET, my first days, I worked in radio for about 20 years. I learned a lot about non-traditional music that's not played on the radio, not the top 40 hits. And I really started to learn more about blues. And I really fell in love with that. So in high school and college, I was listening to, high school's hair bands. Mm-hmm. I was a huge Def Leppard fan. I got into college, then I hit The Cure, and some of that music. And then I got into blues, when I got out of into my professional world. And that was really where music opened up for me, was when I was working at that station and hearing all the eclectic music that they had to offer. And I absolutely loved that. It just opened up a new world for me.
Are you talking about like local music that it opened up to you, or regular, like, radio friendly stuff that you wouldn't hear, let's say, on classic rock or whatever? Who are some of the artists specifically you would be talking about?
On WDET?
Yeah.
Jeff Buckley is a big one.
Okay.
Ben Harper. Ben Harper is somebody that he would come into the studio and play live every time he came through town. Ted Hawkins, who's kind of an acoustic bluesy guy. Those kind of artists that were not being played on commercial radio were the ones that really started to open me up.
It's funny you should say it, mention, because quite a few of those did eventually hit over to commercial radio. I know Buckley did, at least. Had some pretty decent careers as far as that. Who do you think, or if any, artists might have influenced you to become a guitar player specifically, as opposed to bass player, keyboard, or whatever?
Probably Eric Clapton was one of the first ones.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciated his work. I was actually just listening to his Pretending album today a little bit, which is pretty interesting to bring him up. But I was always a huge Prince fan, and not necessarily the funky stuff, but his hard rock and guitar driven stuff. So that really got me excited about guitar. And I think in the early days, just watching Eddie Van Halen play the guitar, trying to figure out, how does that instrument work? And I think that was what opened up my eyes to that, as opposed to any other instrument.
But anybody specifically as far as the blues, other than Clapton, anybody?
Oh yeah, I went down the B.B. King rabbit hole for a long time.
Traditional artist.
Yeah, and then I started to get into some things like Hound Dog Taylor and Elmore James. I found Robert Johnson early, but I wasn't ready for it.
Right.
So, I stepped away from that, and it wasn't until years later that I re-explored him and really fell in love with his music. So, but yeah, there's a lot. Buddy Guy is probably one of my top blues guys.
All right, let's talk about the band. There again, Midnight Proof. How long has the band been together as this unit?
That's kind of an interesting question, because as we started, we were a cover band, and we were playing cover gigs at the Kaju Cafe, and we were playing around. And this is going back to like 2018,
right?
2019. And then right as we were jumping into 2019 and getting into 2020 with COVID, we started writing our own songs. So we kind of look at ourselves as two bands. We're a cover band and we're an original band. So the cover band is called Groove and Violation, and then we're also the same guys, Midnight Proof. So we have sort of two personalities, going on.
Right.
So in about 2018, when we were doing covers, when we started to get into the areas of 2019, 2020, things started to shut down with COVID. We started writing our own songs, and when we started writing our own songs, same guys, the same group of people, we had to give ourselves a different name, found our voice in our music, and all of us bring different influences and musical influences to the band, which is great. So we're all listening to new stuff and learning about other music from each other. But it was probably about 2020 is where Midnight Proof really was born, and we started playing the songs live in our cover set, saying, hey, here's something we wrote. People responded, people started to like it, so we just kind of took that and ran with it.
Now, does the band Midnight Proof still throw in covers, or are you guys strictly sticking to like the original material?
No, we do throw in some covers. We like to throw in some fun ones. We do throw in some pretty obscure covers. Jason Isbell is a band, is artist in a band that we like a lot. So he's got a couple songs. Super 8 is a song that he has that we do. But we do our own version of Little Sister by Elvis or Dwight Yoakam, and we do our take on that.
Of course.
Song that we've been doing a lot lately is You Don't Mess Around with Jim by Jim Croce, but it's our take on it. We're trying to pull out some obscure ones that maybe people don't always play and then make them our own. Woodshedding those and working those out in the basement is a lot of fun to do.
Like I mentioned in the intro, the band has 3 guitars, which can add a lot and at the same time can sometimes be a little too much. How do you balance that out? Does somebody cut out and not play as much on certain parts, or how do you work that?
Well, that's a great question. And that comes to where I think we shine internally as a band. We all know what our roles are, and we also know when to back away and step off a little bit. Rob, who is our lead guitar player, Rob Bowles, he comes from a metal background, so he's going to give you some pretty heavy shredding solos. I like blues, so I'm playing maybe some slide licks or some fills or, holding down the rhythm. And then Charlie Sonny, who's our lead singer, he'll play acoustic guitar or he'll play his telly and, be strumming the main rhythm of the song. So we kind of all look to find what we can do to complement each other. I don't think there's a song that we're all playing the same thing on. We're all finding our own personality in the song. And we wait for that to happen. And when that happens, we know it. We're like, okay, the song's ready to go.
Was that difficult at first to work through as far as finding where not to play?
Yeah, I think so. That's, Charlie, before we joined as a band, he would do a lot of solo gigs and open mics and playing at a farmer's market or whatever. And, he would play the whole song by himself. So he got used to always playing. So to sometimes say, okay, he's not going to play during the verses and only during the choruses. And Rob, who would learn to play a Pantera song front to back, every single lick, every fill, there's times where we didn't need to be playing the same thing. So I think, we all kind of had to learn how to find our own place.
That's kind of what I was wondering, if at any time do you guys try and, as far as the guitar work, try and harmonize your playing? In other words, somebody's playing here and somebody else is playing there. Not necessarily having to back off, but to blend the two as far as that at the same time.
We always have to find a way to complement ourselves, and I think, like I said, I think that's where we shine. I think that's something we do that's really well done as a band. If you really listen to the mix on the record, you'll notice that there's different things going on. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing about our band.
Let's talk a little bit about the members. Tell me the names of the members of the band and what exactly they play.
Yeah, Charlie Sonny is our lead singer. He also plays guitar. And then Rob Bowles is our lead guitar player. Steve Chapman is our bass player. And Zach Glod is our drummer. And occasionally we've been playing more and more often with keyboard player Scott Brown.
Oh, okay. Is that something you're thinking of possibly working in regularly down the line, or is that just something you're trying out?
Well, Scott played on 3 of the songs on the record.
Right.
We asked him to come in, so he came to the studio and he played the Hammond B3 on a couple of the tunes. And then it just really helps round us out. It really makes the band sound more full, especially live. Mm-hmm. And if we're doing covers, he can add a whole other dynamic to the covers because of having the keys. So I think when we're looking to go in and record again, and I'm not sure if there's going to be keys on every song, but we love that Hammond B3 Fender Rhodes sound that he can add a flavor to our tune.
I noticed that in the recording. It definitely adds an extra flavor to it. Not that the band needs any extra flavor, but it just fit. It really fit on those songs as far as that.
I thought so too. He came into the studio and he brought his big chord keyboard, and I was like, "Hey, Scott, there's a Hammond over there with a Leslie speaker." And he's like, all right, give me a minute." Sat down, jammed out a couple of things, and we recorded it. It was great.
Where was it that you recorded that album at?
We recorded at the Temper Mill in Ferndale.
With Mr. Feeney.
Yeah, Eric was our engineer. He did the engineering and mixing for us, and Feeney mastered it.
What made you decide to go into that studio? Had somebody told you about it? Had somebody recorded there before that was in the band? Why did you pick the Temper Mill?
Started doing research. When we realized we wanted to record, we started doing research at different studios around town. And, first thought was, hey, let's just do it in the basement. Let's mic everything up and, let's throw it to Studio One. And, we thought we might not ever do this again. This could be our one shot to go into a studio and really do it right. So we started doing some research around, and, we took a little trip over there to Ferndale and we met with the guys, and we loved it. And thought, this is a place we want to hang out. If we're never going to go in the studio again, Temper Mill's got a pretty great reputation around town. Yeah. Let's do this, and let's do it the way we would want to do if there was no holds barred. So then we ended up getting it pressed on vinyl, and we pressed it locally here. Archer pressed it for us. So we thought, let's do everything here in Detroit. Let's not farm it out to other places. Luckily, we're fortunate enough to still be together and playing music and respecting each other and having a great time. And we've got 11 songs that are almost ready to go, so we'll be recording in the fall.
Oh, that's awesome. You going back to the Temper Mill, I take it then?
Yeah, I think so, because Eric, he understands us as not only our music, but as people. We did a little project with him in the spring, and we sent him some tunes, and he mixed them, and he did a great job of capturing our sound and knowing what we wanted without ever really having to talk to us about it.
I'm always curious when, bands that have been around for a bit, I would consider you guys being around for a short period of time because you say started more or less in 2018. How long did it take to actually write the songs and then actually record them? How long did it take, the whole process?
Some of the songs were written for a while. Charlie's been writing songs for years. So one of the songs he brought to us, he had written a decade ago. Another song was 7-8 years ago. So some of those songs had already existed in some shape or form. And then he'd bring them in and go, hey guys, what do you think about this one? I had never written music before we started playing. So the first song I ever wrote, sat down and start to finish wrote, is called Rough One. And that is actually the first song on the record. So it's great that they were open to saying, okay, yeah, give it a shot. Let's see what you've got here with your voice and your flavor and your lyrics. But I think over about 2 years, the songs all came together. We recorded in 22. We recorded in February of 22. And then, the band, the studio time is paid for by our cover gigs. That's
Right.
kind of our moneymaker. So, we had to keep doing cover gigs to get back in the studio and do some overdubs. And then we would go in and we did the mixing in November. We put it out right on December 31st of 22. I don't know why we wanted to get it out in 22, but we did. So we started the year off right with a new record. So it mainly took that whole year to record just because we were in and out of the studio a lot. It wasn't jamming it in, for 3-4 weeks straight.
Right.
It was a couple days here, a couple days there.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to, like you say, you got to pay for it yourself. You got to do it by way of, a cover band in your instance.
We all have day jobs.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
we've got families. So that's a big, I don't want to say it's a struggle, but that's something that we respect. This summer, we don't have a lot of gigs this summer because a lot of people have family things going on or travel or what have you. So, we just have to respect each other, what we've got going on, and we get in and do it when we can all get together and do it.
As far as just, you say you put it out on vinyl. Was it out in the stores and whereabouts and what stores would it have been available in, or are you just selling it at some of your shows?
We're selling it at shows. We've also got it on Bandcamp, so you can buy all of our merch and all of our music on Bandcamp. But we have copies of it at UHF in Royal Oak, and there are copies at Flipside Records in Berkeley. And there's also a couple copies out at Third Coast Records out in Muskegon. If you're on the west side of the state, go check it out.
Right. So there again, nothing more or less on the west side. Like, I don't even know if you're familiar with them. I'm sure you are, but Dearborn Music, Rock of Ages, any of those places over here?
Oh, yeah, those are the places I went to as a kid all the time.
Right.
No, they're not over there. I mean, it's just going to take a matter of stopping in and all of our spare time. Right?
Yeah, I get that. Can you also buy it, like, on your Facebook page or the band Facebook page? Can it get it that way also?
The Facebook page, I believe, has the link to Bandcamp, and you can get it there.
Okay.
You can also contact us through Facebook, and we'll get one to you. It's pretty simple. There's even talk about just going hand delivering. Why not? Let's save the shipping. Let's go meet some people.
Yeah, well, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Like to meet the people that want to hear our music.
Sure.
And also, it's on all streaming services too, so you can catch it
Right.
on Spotify, and you can get it on Apple.
How is it done as far as record sales? I mean, you're not backed by any kind of label. Don't have any distribution other than you guys. How is it done? Is it done fairly well for you? You're pretty happy with it so far?
Happy with it? I know it's hard to say we're happy with it. I mean, I think we're happy that it exists. I think we're happy that we have a stack of records that we produced and we wrote. So when people do buy it, we're grateful. I mean, we haven't sold a lot. It's not in a lot of the stores, but it was just something to have for us to have merch. And as far as vinyl, vinyl is a very isolated medium still. So some people might want to buy it, but they don't have a record player, or they had a record player, or the real audiophiles are the ones who are going to pick it up because
Right.
the mix on it does sound incredible. It really sounds nice on vinyl. But the streaming services are, we get some decent streams. We got a couple songs that are doing pretty well. So I think that's where most people are listening to our music.
Why vinyl then? If you know that's the case, why did you put it out on vinyl as opposed to CD? I mean, CDs still exist.
We did. We put it on CD first. When we first put it out on streaming services, we ordered up a bunch of CDs to sell at shows, and we found that nobody's really buying CDs anymore. Which
Really?
we don't know that. No one's really using them. So we just give those away as kind of calling cards when we stop into places.
Because
If
of the
someone mentions-
streaming, obviously, yeah.
As far as the record, like I alluded to earlier, we didn't know if we were ever going to do this again.
Sure.
How cool would it be to have our music on vinyl?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there is nothing better we got that first test pressing from Archer, going up in, my record player and sitting down and dropping the needle and hearing songs that we woodshed and dug into and reworked, and just hearing the final mix on vinyl. It's incredible. It's just one of the coolest things.
I totally agree with you. I'm a big vinyl man myself, a big collector of vinyl. I do agree with you that, especially stuff that a band like you, that would sound and lend itself well to vinyl. In other words, to the analog feel. Now, you mentioned Archer. Whereabouts are they located? I don't think I'm familiar with them. Where are they, and how did you come about using them? I know you said you wanted to get something local, but how did you find them?
Well, I talked to a couple of people that I know that put out some records. Rebecca Goldberg puts out a lot of techno records, and I met her and we were talking music, and we had a connection through her music and something that I use in my day job, in my teaching job. I asked her and she told me there, and then next thing I know, I heard a couple of other people saying Archer and other people saying Archer, and it's on Davidson, right after Davidson in Detroit. And I just thought, why not give them a shot? They were putting stuff out like crazy for people. We thought about going to Third Man, which, if you're going to go, swing for the fences. But It was a little expensive for what we wanted to do. And we wanted to do a small run, and they wanted a larger number of a run. We stopped over there, talked to them. They put it out, did a fantastic job. Communication was great. Prices were good for what we wanted, and it sounds incredible. So if anyone has any suggestions about where to go to get vinyl done in Detroit, that's a great place to go.
Now, what kind of run did you do? I mean, because I can't imagine if you went to Third Records and all that, you would have to have a bigger run. It would definitely be more expensive. What kind of run did you guys set up?
We just did a couple hundred.
A couple hundred,
just to start off as hey, let's have some to sell at shows. Third Man wanted a couple thousand. Boy, that'd be a great problem to have, wouldn't it?
Yeah. There again, if you had somebody backing you and could flip the bill for that and get some distribution outside of Michigan or whatever, but that's tough. That's really tough today for any kind of band at any time.
Well, they actually have they got something going on, a promotion going on that we're pretty excited about, actually, which is they are willing to do smaller runs for local Detroit bands who record in Detroit.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're looking at that a little bit right now for the next record to see if that might be something we do.
So you definitely, for the next record, you would plan on putting it out on vinyl again?
Yeah, it's just too cool not to.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally agree with that, man, because like I said, I love my vinyl. The other thing I wanted to mention was your singer, who, like you mentioned, also plays some acoustic guitar and a little bit of telly. He's got a bit of a twang to his voice, a little bit of that country.
Yeah, he brings the country. Yeah, he brings the country.
Did he come up pretty much with country as far as his family and all that? Is that what or is that just a natural voice for him, or how does that work out?
Well, he sings a lot of different styles of music. When we do the cover band, he's singing everything from Bowie to the Spin Doctors.
Oh, wow.
We cover Prince. We'll do Neil Young. I mean, we do a lot in the cover band, and he can handle a lot of the 90s stuff. We do Foo Fighters, and does that really, really well. His natural sounding voice absolutely lends to country, and his musical taste. I mean, he absolutely loves country music. So that's part of the personality of the band. He brings the country. Rob brings the metal. Steve brings the punk.
Yeah.
Zach brings the progressive rock. I bring the blues. You mishmash that all together, and that's what we get.
Well, I don't hear any punk or metal in any of your music and all that, but I can see how a background in that would lend itself to being able to play as a tight unit.
Yeah. Every time he's listening to music and saying, hey guys, check this out. This is a song that's pretty inspiring. He'll play stuff from American Aquarium, or, he is a huge Drive-By Truckers fan, which gets a little more, bluesy in their music as well, but always introducing us to new stuff and generally has a country twinge.
What's interesting is when you say, like in the other band, he would do Bowie and Prince. He has that kind of range to do Prince?
Well, he doesn't sing a falsetto.
I was going to say.
Yeah, he's not doing all that kind of stuff. But he does, he brings his voice to that. So he's just got a nice range that he can really sing anything and sound good doing it.
Oh, okay. So there again, it's as far as the covers, as far as that, you're not going overboard as far as trying to make it sound like the records. The artist.
I don't know if we ever, remember how, and I heard this with Eric Clapton said this one time. Eric Clapton was doing his blues record. Well, his blues record, he's got a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it was From the Cradle album. And in an interview, he said no matter how close he tries to get to the original version of it, it still sounds like him doing it.
Of course.
That's kind of like us, we'll grab a cover, and no matter what we do to try to get it really close to paying tribute to the original, it still sounds like us doing it. Isn't it a nice variation of it? So I think that's what you get with him too.
No, I get that, but my point is, somebody, when you mentioned Eric Clapton, he's not trying to go off and be a funk artist. He's not trying to sing that kind of stuff. He's not trying to do R&B. Where you're talking about, you guys got this natural sound to where, like I said, it's a classic rock blues with a country player, and you're doing Bowie and Prince. In my mind, if I hear a band like you guys doing that, I seem to think, okay, if they're a cover band, they're going to do stuff that's strictly in that vein, or more to that vein. Leonard Skinner, ZZ Top, Stevie Ray Vaughan. That kind of stuff. I wouldn't expect you to hear a record from a band like you and then go and see your cover band and go, oh my God, they're doing David Bowie. Oh my God, they're doing Prince. Whether you're doing your style or not.
You should hear our version of Little Red Corvette. It's pretty fantastic. Danny Muggs, when he was working at Caju one night behind the bar, and we did our version of Little Red Corvette, and he came up afterwards, he's like, man, that is the coolest version of Little Red Corvette I've heard in a long time. It's not going to sound like Prince. It's going to sound like us. But what we do with the covers is we just grab all of our favorite songs and figure out, hey, will this work? And we give it a shot, and if it does, it does. And if it doesn't, we move on. We grab something else. Pretty eclectic mix of music.
That makes sense. Because when you mentioned earlier, like Neil Young, I could see you doing Neil Young. I could hear that because it's got the blues, it's got the country, it's got all that. But it's just when you mentioned Prince that kind of threw me for a loop. Not that I'm saying that you wouldn't do a great version of it. I'm sure you obviously got the talent in the band. I can tell that from the musicianship. It just isn't something I would expect to hear. That's all.
I like to catch people off guard. Get that. Wait, they're doing that song right now.
I mean, speaking of, I mentioned Leonard Skinner, and you got the 3 guitars. Do you do any Leonard Skinner? Do you do any of their stuff?
We do, yeah. We play around, and we do Give Me 3 Steps. That's a really good song for us. That's a really, really fun song for us to play. Our lead guitar player can just solo till the cows come home. So it's really nice to give him songs like that to showcase and just go to town.
Yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to mention Freebird or Sweet Home Alabama.
No.
Too many people playing those songs. It's better I love more of a deep track type style. Okay, tell me a little bit about some of the bars or clubs, places in general that you guys have played in the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. We played, the Caju Cafe is where we really started to play. So we played there quite a few times. The New Way in Ferndale was a really regular spot for us in the beginning. See, in Detroit, we've played Nancy Whiskey and Old Miami and the Lager House. There's a great place downriver. Mike Balcom is putting on this really great monthly concert series called the Oddfellow Concert Lounge, and that's in Wyandotte. That's a fun place to play. He does a great job at that. We've also played in festivals, Arts Beats and Eats, Corktown Music Festival. Got a couple brewery gigs. Batch Brewing here in Detroit. We just went up to Shorts Brewing in Bel Air and played there. And then we're going up to Ludington in July, playing a little outdoor area outside of some of the breweries and distilleries that they've got up there. But really, if you want us to play, we'll play your place. We love playing.
Are these mostly, when you say they're going up to Ludington, are these mostly just one and done type of shows? You could go up there and play for a weekend?
Yeah. So the place up in, it's Lexington is going to play. Yeah, they got a hold of us. We're going up and playing. We're coming home. Would we love to do a little mini tour sometime? Yeah, that would be a blast. I think that would be a goal of ours to do sort of a nice Michigan tour and bounce around. But again, schedules and jobs and families. So, but yeah, a lot of times we'll just take a road trip. We'll go see what happens.
Yeah, well, like you had mentioned, families and all that, and the summer, you got to do the family thing, you got the commitments to that, but at the same time that, you're probably going to miss out on quite a few things, or potentially, because that's when more people are more active to go out to see bands, especially because there's more outdoor venues that they can go see. In the wintertime, especially in Michigan, people tend to stay inside more, at least I do.
That's where the communication comes into play. You know, an opportunity pops up. It's like, hey, I see that you're unavailable on the calendar. Like, is that what's going on with that? Oh, I can move that. Let's do this gig. Or what? You know, we've got a pretty great group of guys who understand and respect and listen to each other. So
Sure.
if something pops up, you know, I'd be like, we're not afraid to say, do we have to be out that weekend? Can we play that weekend? You know, we'll figure something out.
Sure, no, I understand that, but it doesn't always come down to the guys in the band. A lot of times it comes down to the wives of the guys in the band. Happy wife, happy life. Totally.
Yes,
believe
indeed.
me, I understand that. And then, of course, kids, and I totally get that. The thing I was getting at with this was, have you ever had to, or would you ever consider playing any of these gigs, let's say, short one of the guitarists? Let's say if you couldn't make it, could they play it without you? If the lead guitar couldn't make it, could you guys do it without him?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we played a benefit in Madison Heights, a charity benefit. Rob, our lead guitar player, was unavailable, but it's something we've done in the past, and we thought, you know, let's do it as a foursome, and we did, and we were changing the songs on the fly, and we were augmenting the, you know, okay, go to the bridge, and it was actually, it was difficult and fun and exciting because we are pretty structured in our songs, and
Sure.
you know, we practice them and we practice them and practice them, and then next thing you know, hey, we're skipping the solo and going right to this part on the fly. And I think that just shows how well we know our music, that we can do that. And it was fun. And there's been gigs I'm not available, so Charlie has to pick up some of my rhythm aspects, and you know, or you know, we work through it. Do we like to do that? We're a 5-piece,
Right? Of course,
that's who we are. But we want, there's some gigs that we're like, we really want to do this, and we'll figure it out.
Sure. Have you done that without your singer, though, your lead singer? Can you do it without him? Can you two of you?
No, we wouldn't do that.
No,
Charlie is he's our sound, you know. Like,
yes,
I don't think we would do that.
I can see why you wouldn't, because that'd be real tough to try and fill those shoes as far as that. As far as the band rehearsing and you having, you know, family commitments over the summer, or obviously jobs, you know, the other guys I imagine they all have jobs year round, but you being a teacher, you don't. Do you rehearse fairly often, or maybe once a week, or once a couple weeks? How does that work out?
We generally try to get together once a week. We're getting together tonight, so we're going to play tonight. We generally try to get together once a week. We're finalizing some songs that we're writing, so we're really honing in on some of those. Whenever we have a gig, we really try to get together, you know, once or twice just before that. But we're getting together on a regular basis. It's not 3 months later, hey guys, let's get together. It's consistent, it's constant. And can we all make it all the time? No.
Right.
No. So it might be just, hey, this is a rhythm section rehearsal, we're going to do this. Or, hey, today we're going to work on just lyrics. Or we're all together, awesome, let's run a set, just play. But yeah, we try to keep our fingers moving.
Do you record your rehearsals at all, as far as demo it out for future stuff or for song idea concepts?
Not in a really structured manner, and we have a pretty good sound system that we use to take out with us that is set up in our rehearsal space in the basement. For the most part, we'll drop the phone down. Hey, here's a recording, send it out to everyone. Here's the basic structure. The real woodshedding or the real in the lab happens right there in the basement.
Is there anything you want to mention? You mentioned there about a gig coming up in Lexington. Anything else?
Yeah, we're actually playing on the 28th, June 28th. We're playing in Lincoln Park. And Lincoln Park has this really great outdoor band shell. They do a Battle of the Bands. So Stephanie from the city called us up and said, hey, do you guys want to play in the Battle of the Bands? So we're playing on the 28th at 9 o'clock. We close out the day of bands. It's going to be a really fun day of music. A lot of different types of bands, originals, covers, you name it.
Is it a real Battle of the Bands? Or somebody going to win this, or are they just calling it?
Yeah, no, there's a grand prize. So, and then the winning band, if I remember right, gets recognized by the city and invited to play other music. So it's a Battle of the Bands. There's a voting process. A little nerve-wracking, but hey, we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah, why not, man? You guys are really, really good. Like I said, I really enjoy that album of yours. It's incredible production-wise, songwriting-wise. The playing on it is incredible. I hope to be able to come out and see it. I may be able to come out and see that in Lincoln Park, because that's not very far from me. It's not like I have to go out to Lexington. So
right.
that would be a good...
This will be closer.
Yeah, this would be closer. Definitely a good avenue. Do you tend to have any issues or playing outdoors versus playing indoors? Does it matter to you? Are you able to combat the two?
I don't think we care at all.
Okay.
Indoors, outdoors, big bar, small bar. If we're playing our music and people are responding to it, and especially if we can play at a place that has people there that don't know us,
Right.
people go, wow. Our friends would always say when we first started playing, one of the comments was always like, wow, you guys are good. Like, they were so surprised. And I'm like, well, thanks, because we work really hard at it.
Yeah, that's obvious, man, because the band is really good. And some of the videos I've seen of you guys playing live, it's not just a studio trick type thing. You guys obviously can pull it off live. Well, anyway, Mike, I'm going to let you go. Really appreciate you taking the time today and talking to me. I'm hoping to see you at that Lincoln Park Battle of the Bands. That'd be incredible.
And thank you for always supporting local music here in the city, because not too many people are doing it. It's nice to get the word out there about these fantastic bands we have in and around Detroit.
Absolutely. I totally agree. All right, Michael, again, thank you so much. You have a good rest of your day.
You got it. Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yep, bye.
Okay, well, that was Mike Conrad, rhythm guitarist from Detroit metropolitan area band Midnight Proof. A really cool mix of classic rock, blues, and country. Debut album entitled Midnight Proof is available for streaming on all the streaming services. Like you said, if you're into vinyl and you want to pick it up, it's available at a lot of the downriver record stores, including Flipside Records. They're also going to be performing at the Battle of the Bands competition on Saturday, June 28th in Lincoln Park. It starts at 6 o'clock. Midnight Proof goes on at 9 p.m. You definitely want to, if you get a chance, come on out to that and check them out. Because like I said, they're a really, really good band. Solid performances, really tight vocals and guitar work. Everything about the band is pretty much top notch. Hey, is that old stereo system of yours giving you the blues? Maybe the receiver has a blown circuit. Turntable just doesn't work right. Well, then you should visit my friends at 7 Grand Audio Service. They've been in business for over 40 years. Located at 25642 7 Mile Road in Redford Township, the owner Dash and his assistant Harry can fix just about anything. Receivers, tape decks, turntables, EQs, power amps, and yes, guitar and bass amps. Phone number over there is 313-533-3635. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Check them out and let them know that Jimmy sent you. Well, anyway, with that being said, as I like to say, keep rocking.
I believe, but in what I'm not sure.